we go, prisoners. The ending of Rundown 8 is finally upon us. We gathered the matter wave projector, collected some data cubes, scrubbed them clean of all their information, and rewrote them with new coordinates to a clean dimension, and now it's time to finally escape. With the whole complex quickly falling apart and a nuclear meltdown in progress, we haven't a moment to waste. Our mission is simple. Survive the endless hordes of sleepers, make it to KDS Deep to meet up with Schaefer, and escape to a new dimension. It is finally time to GTFO. Hello everyone, Professor Scaler here, and welcome to the R8E1 level guide. As always, we're starting off with your loadout, and today we have a bit of a unique one, and that would be a biotracker, a mine deployer, and 2 seafoam launchers. Yep, that's right, double seafoam. This is something you don't often see me recommend. Now, when it comes to this loadout, the biotracker, I like this because there are a fair amount of shadow type enemies in this level we have to deal with if we go for the secondary objective, so of course biotracker to help out with them. And even if we go for a main objective only run and we don't have to deal with those shadows, I still like a biotracker as the information it provides is incredibly valuable. As for mines and seafoam, our goal in this level is to just simply survive and delay enemies as much as we can. We're going to be running through a lot of different zones, most of which aren't going to have any resources whatsoever, so what we start off with is all we really have to work with for quite a while. And because there's so many enemies coming after us due to the mechanic of the level, I love being able to shut every single door behind me, reinforcing them with seafoam so enemies take a lot longer to break them down and get to us. And then when I get to certain key moments in the level where I know I'm going to have to hold out for a bit, then I can go on ahead and mine one of those seafoam doors to just blow up a lot of the enemies all at once and force them to spawn quite a bit further away from me and my teammates so we don't have to deal with quite as many enemies all at once. So as you're making your way through, you're going to be seafoaming a lot of doors, not mining most of them though. I want to reiterate that. Do not mine every single seafoam door. Only mine it when it's necessary and just keep on running as quickly as you can. As for the ending of the level, because I know some people are going to bring this up, yes, mines and seafoam can fall off quite a bit as you won't have any doors you can utilize and you do have to deal with a lot of enemies coming after you wave after wave after wave. But due to the method we're using for the first half of the level, we're actually going to conserve a lot of our ammunition, and even then at the ending of the level, seafoam isn't completely useless, because if you have hordes of enemies coming after you and you seafoam all over the floor, a fair amount of those enemies are going to get trapped, so you could just very easily shoot them from a distance while they're not moving, or just shoot the enemies who do not get trapped in the seafoam, and then either shoot the rest of the enemies, or if you even want to conserve more ammunition, run up and melee those enemies while they're stuck and they can't really fight back against you, and you should be good. It's not quite as efficient as having a sentry or 2 for the ending, but I find the first half of the level to be much more difficult than the second half, and double seafoam helps out so much for the first half of the level and getting you into a stable position, which is why I love to bring this loadout. Dropping down into the level, you'll see that there is a system malfunction, and your objective is to take the data cubes to KDS Deep, which is zone 544. Meanwhile, you and your teammates will be starting off inside zone 511. Don't worry though, you're not going to be running quite as many zones as you might initially think. But upon dropping down to zone 511, you'll see a 1-minute timer appear at the top of your screen. This is how long you have until waves of enemies are going to continuously be spawning in. Once that timer hits 0, you then get a 10-minute timer, which is pretty much how long you'll have to wait until you can actually get into KDS Deep itself, because along the way, certain security doors are only going to unlock once you hit a certain time interval. The final door unlocking, of course, once the timer hits 0 seconds left. Now, in these waves of enemies spawning in, most of them are just going to be regular strikers and shooters. However, there will be a few waves that will contain a fair amount of giant strikers or giant shooters, and every so often you will also get a giant charger in the mix. So as soon as you drop into the level, you are going to want to run as fast as you can. Now, as I mentioned earlier during the loadout portion of this level, most of the zones you go through, especially the ones towards the beginning of the level, are going to have no resources in them whatsoever. I will specify the zones that do have resources, so if I don't say anything, assume there are none in there, and therefore you're just going to get through it as quickly as you can. So run to the far northern end to the security door to 512. This is just an open door, no scanner or anything tied to it. And inside zone 512, you're going to find your very first bulkhead key, the bulkhead door control and door to the secondary objective, as well as a color key card you need to progress onward into 513. Now, if you're doing a main objective only run, you just need that key card, and then you can go to the northern end to that security door. If you're going for secondary though, you need to get that bulkhead key quickly and go to the door control that's right there in the very first room, do the scan for the secondary door, and then quickly run to the western side of the zone. There you'll find the security door to zone 530, which just open door, no scan or anything tied to it. And upon entering into zone 530, you'll see your secondary objective is to find a specific terminal and put a command into it. This terminal will be located at the far western end of this first zone, no enemies or resources in here for you to collect whatsoever, and when you get to that terminal, you'll put the command into it, and then you have to do a full team scan. More than likely, by the time you get here, waves of enemies will start spawning in, so you have to hold out a little bit while you're on that scan, and once you finish it, your secondary objective is completed, and it's now time to hightail it out of here. Because shortly after that full team scan is finished, this is going to overwrite to the alarm that's currently in place. So you're still going to be getting those waves of enemies like you were earlier, the strikers, the shooters, and giants and whatnot, but now you're going to also be getting waves of shadow strikers, some regular chargers, some hybrids every so often. You're going to get some more snatchers in the level than you typically would, and in certain zones along the way, even some flyers are going to be spawning in. But as soon as you get outside zone 530, just go to the northern end, again, shut those doors behind you, go on ahead and seafoam and mine both of the doors that lead into your room, by the way, since you are going to have to do a lengthy full team scan, because the security door to 513, the one that needs that color key card, has a full team scan tied to it that takes a bit longer to complete than your average full team scan. Once the door is done though, you can open up and you're going to want to start running as soon as you can. Just keep going to the northern end, then loop around down below. There you'll find a door, shut that and seafoam it behind you, and go on ahead and mine that one as well, because in that room will be a security door to zone 514, which is also going to be a lengthy full team scan. Once you finish that one, open up the door and run through, and now you can actually start building some distance between you and the enemies. At zone 514, no resources or anything in here, although this is one of the zones where flyers can spawn in, so be aware of them. Far eastern side, you'll find a security door 515, just an open security door, no scan anything tied to it. I believe there are 2 doors in here you can shut and seafoam behind you. At the end of it, you will find a security door to zone 516, which is again just an open security door, no scan or anything tied to it. And inside zone 516, this is the only zone that has naturally sleeping enemies in it. Specifically, 2 sleeping giant strikers. They might be in the first room, they might be in the second room, so when you do come across them, just blast your way through them very quickly and then get the doors open and just shut them and seafoam them behind you. And at the far eastern end, you'll find a security door to zone 517. This door is also going to be a lengthy full team scan, so if the enemies are pretty close behind you, go on ahead and mine that door that leads into your room. If they're fairly far away though, then just don't mind it, just leave it be. And once the door is finished, open it up and head inside. Inside zone 517, there are going to be a few resources you can collect, as well as a color key card, which you need in order to unlock the security door to zone 518. The boxes lockers could be towards the entrance or in the middle of the room down below or up above. So look around. As soon as you get that key card, person, run over to the security door and open it up. Other people, you can look around for the resources. I think it's just going to be an ammo pack and a med pack in here, but try not to waste too much time, as these resources aren't worth letting the waves of enemies get that much closer to you. The security door to zone 518 is just an open door, no scan or anything, so open it up, run inside, and just keep on making some distance. As you get to the end of it, you'll find security door to zone 519. This is also just an open security door, no scan, but I have noticed that once you open up the security door to zone 519, a snatcher is going to spawn in. I think if you're doing secondary, it might actually spawn in 2 snatchers, but I'm not 100% positive about that. But 519, same thing as before, just keep making your way through, no resources or anything in here. Eventually you will find the security door to zone 520, which is going to have a lengthy full team scan tied to it, and zone 520 is a fairly big room. In here there will be a few resources, which if you happen to find the boxes or lockers, go on ahead and open them up, but because there are a few side rooms and this is a massive area, there's a pretty good chance your resources are going to be so far off the beaten path, it's not worth going for them whatsoever. So what I like to do when I get to zone 520 is I'll make my way to the eastern side of it. Usually I'll take the northern down below route to get over there. And once we get to the other side, 3 people are going to hold their ground near the staircase and defend, while 1 person continues to go east to the security door to zone 521. This door is going to have a class 1 stealth scan tied to it, and there's actually a decent chance you might get here before it's even unlocked. So you're going to want to hold your ground a little bit, but once you can, that 1 person activates the security door and the scans will come out. The other 3 people are just going to simply shoot and deal with the enemies as they're coming after you. That snatcher is probably going to be the biggest threat, as he will be rushing you down very quickly, and you don't want to let him drag any of your teammates off. And as soon as all the scans are finished, quickly as a group go over to that security door and open up the door to 521. Upon opening up this door, a new alarm is going to be initiating that will spawn in even more regular strikers and shooters to the mix. So get into zone 521 as quickly as you can. Go to the northern end. There you'll find security door to zone 522. This is just an open security door, no scan or anything tied to it. And inside zone 522, there will be resources to collect, and I highly recommend you grab as many of these as you can. There's also a door you could go on ahead and shut, mine a seafoam to buy you extra time to grab more resources. At the northern end, you'll find the door to 523. This is also just an open security door, no scan or anything tied to it. And zone 523 is going to be a very long bridge room. In here, even more resources to collect, as well as a key card you need to unlock the next door to 524. So split up a little bit, look for resources. Be careful though, because flyers can also spawn while you're inside of this room, so they might ambush you. But once you get the key card and some resources, go to the northern end, put it into the door. Just another open security door, no scan, so open up immediately. And inside zone 524, it's going to be 2 small rooms, fair amount of resources in this area, so go ahead, grab those and resupply with them. And there is another door you can shut, mine, and seafoam. Now at this point, the next security door is the one to zone 525. This door will have a checkpoint scan tied to it. However, the door does not unlock until that timer hits 0. So if you get here and there's still maybe 30 or so seconds left on that timer, go on ahead and re-seafoam that door over and over again if you can, just to keep enemies out for as long as you possibly are able to. And once you run out of seafoam or the timer gets closer to 0, let the door break open. Mine will deal with most of the enemies and you just have to shoot and kill the rest of them. And as soon as that timer hits 0, go to that security door, activate it immediately so the checkpoint scan will appear. Because once you finish this checkpoint scan, the door automatically opens up and you head inside of zone 525. The waves of enemies are going to stop spawning in. So now you just have to simply take some time to deal with any of the enemies who are still left alive, and once the music goes away, you can take some time to look around zone 525 as there will be more resources inside of here. And if you even want to, you can backtrack through the level a bit and grab more resources you might have left behind. As far as I'm aware, there's no punishment or anything for backtracking all the way to the beginning of the level again, so you could go back through some of the zones to grab some resources, and then once you and your teammates are resupplied and you're good to go, head to the eastern side of zone 525 where you'll find a security door to zone 544. This door is just going to be a full team scan, and upon entering into here, a few waves of enemies, and I believe even some nightmare strikers and shooters, are going to spawn from behind. So look around, grab more resources as there's a fair amount of them in here, and then just defend against those few waves of enemies. Once you do that, and I believe you head to the far eastern end to get the trigger to occur, you're then going to get some dialogue from the other team telling you that you have to put the data cubes into the orange shuttle box near the terminal on the eastern side of the room in order to actually unlock the security door. Once you put those data cubes in, it is going to cause more waves of enemies to spawn in, and the security door to the north and to the south to 527 and 528 are going to open up. There will never be any resources in these zones. These are just simply additional spawn location for these enemies. So once you get to this point, you're going to want to go near that terminal on the eastern end and get ready to defend. There's going to be multiple waves of things like strikers and shooters, nightmare strikers and nightmare shooters, and I think even occasionally giant chargers who will be coming after you. If you have a lot of seafoam, go on ahead and spread it throughout the room a little bit just so it'll trap enemies in place so you have an easier time dealing with them. And you're just going to keep on killing enemies until you hear the security door to the east of you to 545 unlock. Once that door unlocks, waves of enemies will stop spawning in, so you can clear out any of the enemies who are still left alive, and then you can take time to grab any resources in this area if you haven't already grabbed them all. Then once you and your teammates are ready for the final portion of the level, go to the security door to 545, open it up, and then just head into there. If you play through all of Rundown 5, this room should look familiar to you and your teammates, but you're just going to make your way through, go down below into the below portion where you can actually walk this time around, and down there you're going to find a single sustained scan. Now once you step into the scan and it completes, the final portion of the level is going to be initiated. There'll be a little bit of a pause, your character is going to talk a little bit, and then some waves of enemies are going to start spawning in, specifically regular strikers and shooters who are going to be spawning from sort of the north and eastern end of the arenas from up above. So what I like to do is I just go to the southwest corner of the area as there's no spawn point from behind me, and then I'll spray seafoam all over the place in front of me, and you're going to do your best to defend against all these waves of strikers and shooters. Once you kill off every single one of the waves and you hear the music go away once more, your character is going to talk a little bit more, sort of congratulating themselves, saying, hey, we did it, we survived. And then you're going to hear a terrifying chain of screams going off in the distance, and then your character is basically saying, nope, this is unfortunately the end. At this point in the level, you can do whatever the heck you want. There's no right or wrong answer, to be honest. You're going to have waves of nightmare strikers and shooters and even tanks coming after you. And no matter how well you play, you cannot survive this. This is the end of the level for you. Eventually, you'll start running low on resources, you'll get overwhelmed by the numerous amounts of enemies coming after you, and one by one, every single one of you will fall to the floor dead. And once all 4 of you have died, you will actually get a different completion screen, because you have not failed this mission. Once all 4 of you die at this point, you have completed R8E1, and that is the end of your Rundown 8 journey. And that's all there is to it. R8E1 ends on a bit of a somber note. This entire time, we were working together with Schaefer and the Warden, trying to save the last bit of humanity from the Nam-V virus. Things were going pretty well until the end there. Led on and eventually betrayed by that other team, the only reward we received was a slow and painful death to the endless hordes of sleepers. As always though, thank you for watching this video all the way to the very end. I do hope that it was able to provide you with some assistance in beating this level, if you can even consider that beating it. If you have any tips or tricks this level that you would like to share, any questions for me, or you just have something in general that you would like to say, please do let me know down in the comments. Hit that like button if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more from me, and if you want to join my community, there is a link to my Discord down in the description, as well as some other links you might be interested in. Among those links being one to the official GTFO merch store, which, as always, I highly recommend you check out if you're a fellow GTFO enthusiast and you're looking to pick up some sweet merch. Until next time, rise up prisoners, as your journey is not truly over quite yet, as the second half of Rundown 8 is now unlocked to you. Next time, we'll be venturing into R8A2 to see what new nightmares await us there. And hopefully, I'll see all you wonderful people in the next video.